All right, well, I'm Allison Terry, and I am a driver education instructor at Lone Peak High School. I'm also one of the instructors who works with Audra to facilitate the courses that help teachers get their driver education endorsement. And there's only a couple of us who work in the leadership of that, and we really need you guys, the in the classroom, in the car teachers, to help us mentor this next generation of driver education instructors to get them ready for the road. And they're going to eventually replace you as you retire one day, maybe. And so we want your expertise and your skills to help get them ready to take over for you. One of the things that I have known for a long time is that mentors not only help the student, but I'm going to call you the teacher candidate if you're not yet endorsed. If you have the endorsement, I'm going to call you the mentor. So mentors, who are people like you and me and everybody who works in driver education, are great at going out and finding the next group of people who will take our jobs when it's time for us to retire and move on. And we're not just recruiters or mentors or problem solvers or people to ask questions of. We go out and we encourage and advocate others to join our profession. There is no undergrad program for driver education anywhere in the state of Utah right now. In order to become a driver education instructor, you have to go through the USBE process of getting an endorsement attached to your license after you have your license. So we are the ones who go out and find these people. And I would like to encourage you to expand your horizons and who you go out to find. I've done an informal survey of different districts and asked, how do you recruit for driver education? How do you find people to fill the posts that you have? And basically, they don't know. Districts don't know. It's you and me and the other people who are working in the field who usually know how you get endorsed and when there's an opening. And we go out and talk to people that we socialize with in the school setting and encourage them to get their license. And that has kind of led, this is going to sound bad. This is not intended to be any kind of social justice warrior at all. But there's not very many women in driver education outside of the leadership. And so it would be great if we could expand our horizons and look to those teachers who we don't normally encourage to become driver education instructors and let them know, hey, this is a great place to work. Go out and get your endorsement and then talk to whoever it is that does the hiring, whether it's like at my school, it's kind of our department chair, and we talk to our principal, and we don't really post for it, and we should post for it. We should encourage people from all kinds of backgrounds to apply for and get the jobs. And so maybe that's something we could do as mentors to try and help it. Jana, yeah, it is the Boys Club of Coaches. I don't know that they don't want the females, but we talk to people who we know to encourage them to join the group, right? And if it's a bunch of guys who are all socializing with other guys, they're going to talk to guys about joining the group. I just think it's not anything that we really think about, but it would be very helpful if we were to encourage people to, look outside of the immediate sphere of folks you talk with at the school and expand that out to the next group, and younger as well. It's good to encourage younger people to join. A lot of people become driver education instructors right at the end of their career to kind of bump up their pay. And I get that women have a lot of responsibilities outside of work. They've got kids, they've got houses they got to take care of, but so do guys. And so I'm sure we can find great people, whether they're male or female, doesn't matter, but we can find great people that we're ready to mentor and have them enter the driver education field. So let's talk about how we can mentor this next generation, whoever they might be. Have you ever had a great mentor? Todd, I'm glad you're talking to people. That's good. If you've had a great mentor, think about these questions. Who were they? What did they do for you? Or what did they do in their role as your mentor? Why were they helpful to you? What has been the lasting impact of their mentorship? Oh, and what has been the lasting impact of their mentorship? And then if you wouldn't mind, share a little bit with us in the chat box. One of my favorite mentors was Linda Main. Donnie says he knew everything about the subject. Yes. Oh, isn't that nice to have somebody who knows everything and you can go and ask him? And if they don't know it, they will learn it and come and tell you. Wendy says she's had a good mentor. Anybody else? There's 102 of you who are supposed to be out there. I've had mentors that were in driver education and not, and they've both helped me. David said, oh, his mentor is still a great resource. Yep. I remember I had a mentor that's at Lone Peak when I started. She might even be on this conference. It was Shauna Kay. And she was fantastic. Sam says, my mentor let me try different things and fail and learn from what worked and what didn't. Good, yes. My mentor saw me as a good fit. That's awesome. Had a mentor who did ride-alongs. That's right. Yes, they taught me. They knew how to lift me up and give me corrections. Ooh, isn't that so great? If you can find someone who can do both, they can say, oh, this is where we need to improve, but this is where you're doing well. Yeah, aren't all these things good? They're the go-to person for answers. Yeah. I really like my mentor because they were real and they acknowledged their mistakes. Ooh, that is so key. We all make them, so why not acknowledge them? And it's okay to be vulnerable and let me come and observe. Yeah, it's hard to have people come into your classroom, isn't it? Wendy talked about Paul from BYU. Yeah, Wendy, we're glad you're at Provo. Paul says they're willing to make mistakes for me. Make time, not make mistakes. Sorry. Make time for me. Yes, taking time. Jean Wilcox, Linda Main. She really was awesome. Wendy had several that were helpful. Good. I'm so glad you guys have had mentors that have been helpful to you. And I tell you, I have a job where I'm supposed to mentor a number of different people in a number of different roles. And let me just tell you how absolutely rewarding it is as the mentor. Being the mentee, we experience that in our student teaching and in, even our personal life. We have these great mentors who help us through all kinds of things. I've got a neighbor that she is just the most amazing person. Whenever I need some help with something, I know exactly who I can go talk to, whether it be about cooking or about taking care of my yard. I have another great mentor that helps me again with yard work. My mother loves flowers. And if I need to go and talk to my mother about my flower garden and what I can do to improve that, she's there to let me give something a try, even though she might know it'll fail. And then when it does fail, she lets me know what I can replace it with. It is so helpful to have somebody in our lives, and we can be that person for somebody else. This isn't on my slide, and I haven't asked this in the other session, but have any of you had the opportunity to mentor someone in a different area or in driver ed, at school, personal life? Robert, yes. Good. Does anybody have an experience of having mentored someone that really made a change for you? Yeah, student teachers, they are so cool to work with, aren't they? Lots and lots of student teachers. Yeah, I love that responsibility as a teacher. Mentoring is rewarding, Daryl, and it helps you to stay on your toes. Ooh, I do love that. You have to get refreshed when you're a mentor. You have to delve back into it. Okay, awesome. We're going to go to the next slide here. If you have more in the chat, keep sending it. That would be great. We are having to explain why we're doing. It makes us question that. Why? Let's make sure we're doing it the right way. I introduced music into your curriculum. I love that. And she was a good teacher. That's so great. I've always enjoyed student teachers. One of my student teacher mentors, I had one of your kids. That's cool. Now, why do we need mentors? Moody Musings says, we need mentors because they can help you make connections that may be necessary to accomplish some of your goals. Mentors bring out qualities in you that you may have never been able to reach by yourself. Mentors have the experience we're striving for, and they've been in situations where setting ourselves up to be part of. So the people that we mentor, they want to be part of something, and we're kind of the people bringing them into that. And mentors look out for you and consider you and your skills when opportunities cross your path. You know, I don't know how many times I have been lucky enough to get into something I enjoyed, whether it was volunteering or working, because I had a mentor who said, hey, I've heard about this great thing that you would be the right person for. Yeah, Douglas, we do. We all need to be coached. Wendy, exactly, to guide us. Providing standards to work toward. Yeah, they say, okay, this is where we're going. How do we get there? They help you when you're struggling. Oh, driver ed would be so hard if we didn't have somebody else to support us, wouldn't it, Todd? Yeah. They can ease the mental and problem-solving burdens because, yeah, most issues, like Robert said, have been approached before by somebody and they've had to be solved, and they can help show us this path that's already been blazed by the machete. I've learned a lot being a mentor and mentored. Yeah. And Mary, many times they're just a shoulder. Oh yeah, I can't tell you how important it is to have somebody you can just let, somebody who gets it, that you can let know where you are, and hopefully they can turn you around and send you back out to face the world. Answer questions. Oh, great for PTSD. Hopefully they are reducing the PTSD problem. Yeah. So what does a mentor do? And how is being a mentor different from the other roles that we have at school? They might be, we're called upon to be a peer and a coworker, maybe a department chair, a supervisor, or a coach, but a mentor is a different person. It's a different role. So what is the role of a mentor? Or what are the characteristics or the dispositions of a mentor? You can use that chat feature and let me know what you think are important. Guide, fantastic. Support and encouragement, yes, good job. Patient, oh, so patient. I can't tell you how much patience I've learned being a mentor. Knowledgeable, listen whenever they need somebody. Yeah, just to be available. Approachable, yes. Good, Wendy. They accept you as you are, but know what you can become. Oh, so cool. Open-minded to develop your own style. Depending on age, old school ideas still work. Yeah, yeah. Non-judgmental, totally. We need to be non-judgmental with the people that we mentor. A shoulder to cry on, they teach. Yeah, it's almost like having an adult teacher, and it's almost a one-on-one setting, kind of like in the car. That's one of the things I love about teaching students in the car, is that it's me and maybe 3 kids. It's not me and 30 kids. It's usually when I'm talking to them, it's just me and the kid in the front seat, and mentoring is a similar experience. Yeah, shoulder to cry on, open to feedback. Oh yeah, for sure. There are times when my student teachers have taught me some things that I'm like, oh, that's amazing. I'm stealing that, right? Express needs or mistakes. They have knowledge and expertise. Constructive criticism. Cool. Yes, that's right. That's absolutely right. So in mentoring as a field, there are these different categories or roles that a mentor tends to satisfy. And we often think about them as providing training and direction and advice, but sometimes we forget that they're also helping us set goals. They want to help us figure out, my ultimate goal is to get to this place. Now, how do I get there? They provide support for us getting there. They give us direction, and they can coach us so we can go out and try, possibly fail, and come back. We can try and have a modicum of success and figure out how to improve upon that success. All of those different roles are that of a mentor, but there's no supervisory role. There's no, there is an evaluative component to that, but it's not something where the mentee is afraid of making a mistake because they'll look bad or lose face or they'll be punished at work. That's not what being a mentor is all about. Being a mentor is about helping the person to achieve that goal using your own skill set. So what does a driver education mentor do? You have a couple of roles, you have a couple of tasks that you have to accomplish, and we want to help set you up to be able to do those things so that when it's time for you to get your own mentee, that you know what to do. Now, in the past, we've had driver education practicums, practicum 1, practicum 2. Essentially, all you had to do was find a person who was willing to sign a piece of paper for you, fill out a log and turn that in, and your practicum was done. Now we're asking you to do a little bit more, partially because we want to cover everybody's backside as far as liability is concerned, which you've already heard about. We want to make sure that the driver education teacher candidate has learned all the things that they need to do in policy, in rule, in code, from statute. We want to know that they know what they're doing from the driver license division, USBE, from the Utah State Legislature, that they know how to use curriculum, that they know how their school's policies work, their district policies. And that's really where you as the mentor have to share your knowledge, your experience, those kinds of things. I can't help them with everything as the law and policy teacher for the state. I can only help them with what state stuff says. What you need to do is help them with the nooks and crannies, the things that are important or specific to your school or your district, so that we can apply consistently from the state level on down everything that a driver education teacher needs to know. Now, as a mentor, they are working under your teaching license, just like a student teacher is. So anything that they do that breaks the law, anything that they do that is a major screw up could blow back on you, which is a little scary. And I get that. But that's why we don't leave these teacher candidates alone. That's why we are always with our teacher candidates in the classroom, in the car, especially. You can leave a student teacher alone or a teacher candidate alone in the classroom after time. You got to see how they can do. You got to make sure they know what they're doing, make sure their lesson plan is set so that they know what they're teaching and that it follows the laws and the policies, that it's clear, that it's going to be effective. But then you can walk out of the classroom a little bit and let them try and practice on their own. Since we're all already licensed as teachers, we should have some good background in that and should be able to pick that up just fine. But in the car, you should never leave your mentee alone until they are fully endorsed. And that's one thing to keep in mind, just to cover your own backside. We have a question in Q&A. Are we worried as a state on having enough teachers to keep driver ed going? No, but we are an aging population. And over the last year, Audra, how many teachers have we trained? 70? Either have completed the program or entered the program in the last year? I think it's a pretty high number. And there are some school districts that are struggling to find people to teach driver education. And it's not just in rural areas. There's urban areas where we're struggling to find people who have the needed endorsement. And so it might be, if your department is small or you're aware that somebody's going to retire, that a year before that person plans to retire, you want somebody to start the program. It does take 2 semesters to go through the program at minimum. If you're really motivated, you could get finished in 2 semesters, but I would say it really takes 3 or a full year to get all the way finished. And you can take up to 2 years from beginning to end, but a student teacher or a teacher candidate cannot take longer than 2 years to get their endorsement, which is different from some other things like an ARL or other endorsements that are available out there. Some of those go as long as 3 years with the possibility of adding a 4th probationary year. Driver education is not that way. It needs to get done in 2 years. Okay, so driver education mentors help with goal setting. They help with training, all those things we talked about specific to your school, your state, your district, those kinds of things. Policy. Now, policy and procedures are influenced by statutes, codes, and rules, but you'll also have, this is how you get gas. And there's about 800 different things that your driver education teacher candidate won't know that you know how to do. And things like getting gas, or how do you get assigned to a car, or how do you get a gas number so you can get your own gas in your car? What gas stations are you allowed to use? It took me a year as a driver education instructor before I realized I could use a different gas station than the one that was across the school from the range. You're monitoring, you're constantly monitoring this person. What's their progress in class? How is their homework going? What topics are your classes talking about this week? Let's get you in the classroom and teaching the classroom. Help me teach the online class, do some grading and do some new assignment creation for the online class if your school has one. You're going to provide opportunities to observe other people. You're going to provide practice within the environment of a safety net. You're going to observe that teacher. So not only practice for them to be able to observe other people, but for you to observe them. See what their disposition is like, see what their character is like, see what their engagement with students is like, and help them find a good place. Assign homework to them. I put homework in quotation marks because we really don't give them necessarily assignments as a mentor that we expect them to go home and study on and return like they were a real student. But you might ask them to go home and do some thinking. Or for example, our driving record card, the student record that we kept, I hated that card. And so I assigned a mentee that I was working with to help redesign it so that the email spot was bigger, so that we had some more information on it, like if we have the parent permission form on file or not, things like that. We came up with a really good driving record card. And you're going to give them an evaluation and provide feedback and help them find answers. And very lastly, we want to celebrate successes with our student teacher or teacher candidates. Anytime that they're like, man, I didn't know if I could get that lesson taught, but it went so good. We want to celebrate with them. And when they finally get their endorsement, we can have a little party kind of a thing. I mean, you don't have to physically have a party unless you want to. I'm that kind of person. I like balloons and I like cake. So I would love to celebrate with people, but you got to find ways to get them to where they're going. I'm going to check in our chat box here. Oh, Jana, yeah, had no idea and was desperate, so I just paid for my own. Oh man, that is so, I can relate to that. I can so relate to that. And Tammy says, some mentees have the best ideas because they're fresh. Yeah, they're fresh to this old topic that you've just kind of grinded out for the last however many years, and somebody new comes in and says, but we can do it this way. And I hope that you got some great new ideas from the panel that was just before this, because those two sessions had some fantastic ideas. All right, so the USBE mentoring course, because that's probably what you're the most concerned about, honestly. You will have to join the USBE mentoring course as the mentor. The teacher candidate also signs up for that class, but you're in two different sections within the same course because we've created some assignments that the student teacher, the teacher candidate does, and then some assignments that the mentor does, and then a couple of discussions where they overlap. And so really what the mentoring course does is makes visible for others the invisible process that you and your student teacher candidate have done together. The conversations that you've had, the documents you've shared, and the evaluations and observations that you as the mentor do with them, and then their practicum log. The teacher candidate cannot complete the process until the mentor also finishes the whole course. And there's a couple of things in that course that it would be good for you to know exist before the person is ready to get their license. For example, there's an evaluation in that has to be finished, or that should be finished in the middle of their practicum time. So it's 60 hours. You should watch them and observe them and create an evaluation for them. And then you should do the same thing at the end and create another evaluation for them. The course should be completed over time. Please don't log in today because your mentor or your mentee says, I need to have you finish this class and get it all knocked out in a 20-minute sitting. That's not the process we're looking for. All right. The formative evaluation should be done when the teacher candidate reaches 60 hours on their practicum. The summative evaluation should be done at the very end, and both you and your teacher candidate should keep copies of those evaluations for at least a year. I mean, it's a little bit like your student teaching evaluations, right? You kept those until at least you had a job. I still have every evaluation I have ever had done on me, from my student teaching to last year's job evaluation, because I never know when I'm going to need those for whatever reason. So I would encourage you to do the same thing. Keep that somewhere, whether it's an electronic copy or a hard copy. I would encourage you to have that signed some fashion. So maybe print it, sign it, scan it, or you can sign it electronically, but you want to have a copy that you can keep, because you're going to turn that in to your district coordinator, and Audra pays your district for you being a mentor. And then so far, every district has turned around and given that money to the mentor. So right now, USBE cannot pay you directly as for being a mentor. Those kind of honorariums have been prohibited, but she can reimburse the school district that you work for the time you have put in. And then the school district can turn around and give that to you. And so far, they're continuing to do that. Audrey, yes, exactly. Put your teacher candidates should keep the log sheet, but I also think since you're the mentor teacher and you sign that log sheet, you should keep that too. Does the new law require that teacher candidates have a mentor that takes the mentoring course? Paul, yes. So it's not a law, it's a policy from Utah State Board of Education. Whenever you are getting your license or an endorsement in something, you're supposed to have a mentor who's working with you, and that mentor should do some work with you. And so the way we've chosen to make sure that that happens is by having both the mentor and the student teacher take the USBE mentoring course together at the same time. And then that helps log all of the mentor required stuff as well. And Audra has answered that you get credit on your Midas transcript for having taken the mentoring class. So if you're working toward a lane change and you need a couple credits, or if you're working on relicensure, the mentoring course can be used for those things yet. Kenny says not all are getting the money as of yet. Oh, that's unfortunate. But possibly it might just be kind of hung up. Maybe the district is waiting for a reimbursement from the state or something. So hopefully you're all going to get that. If you're not getting it, maybe find a way of talking to your coordinator. It's not a hang up on Audra's end, but it could be a hang up in your district, on your district's end. Audra can probably help answer questions specific to that better than I can, because I don't deal with money, which is lovely. Okay, I think now might be a good time for me to take us to our mentoring course so you can see what it looks like. You're going to sign up for that on Midas. And make sure you sign up for the right one, because if you sign up as a student teacher candidate, you're going to be put in the wrong assignment group. But there are various modules, and you won't be able to see all of these because you're only going to see the things that apply to your section. For example, this requirements for driver education endorsement, both the teacher candidate and the mentor can see, but 1.2 is only for the student teacher candidates, and mentor teacher 1.3 is only for the mentor teachers. So you may have some gaps in your numbering, just be aware of that. None of these are in order. I don't care what order you take these in, do these things in. What I do care about is that you can get them all turned in by the end. And then right here, 6.0 is where you'll see those formative evaluations, summative evaluations, and your practicum log. Now, in the practicum log, one of the things that we need some help from our mentors about is to make sure that teacher candidates are filling this out detailed enough. I often will see one of these that says a number of hours, a date, a number of hours, and homework. That's not what we want, because you're not really allowed to count homework from doing the endorsement courses on your practicum log. But a lot of my homework assignments from the University of Utah classes are to go talk to your mentor about this topic, come back and write up a paper of some sort or an assignment of some sort, or create an activity for your students. The discussion that happens with the mentor about that topic should 100% be put on this practicum log, because that's what the practicum is. Talk to your mentor, observe your mentor, practice with your mentor, engage with your mentor, and be very specific, like you were talked about in the covering your assets section. Be very specific about what was talked about or what was practiced or done, so that you can demonstrate you as the mentor taught this kid, this teacher candidate, how to do this thing, so that if it ever comes back that the teacher candidate says, well, I was never taught how to get whatever, how to get gas, how to get my car repaired, how to fill out an accident report, you can go back to their log, which you have read, agreed to, and sign it at the end stating, yes, I actually did teach all of these things to this person, and say, well, I did too. I taught you right here on this day at this time how to fill out an accident report. 120 hours is a freaking lot of time. So you have plenty of time to work with these teacher candidates and get all of this information done. But these 3, 4, 5, whatever boxes right here are very detailed explanations of what was talked about during that 1 or 2 hours with the mentor on certain days. And that's the level that we want of completion on that practicum log. So if you guys will help us out with that, that would be tremendous. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you was the mentor evaluation forms. Only the mentor can see the evaluations, and only the student can see the practicum log, because the mentor doesn't turn in the practicum log, and I'm not allowing the student teacher or the teacher candidate to turn in the evaluation. I want that to come from you guys. It's a way to make sure it's coming from the right place. So there's various PDF or Google document versions of it. And you can either fill it out digitally, so if you put it in your Acrobat reader, or if you want to, you can print it and fill it out by hand. Make sure that you're reading this scale up here, and that not observed should really only be used for this assessment, which is the formative assessment. We're talking about the student teacher in the car and in the classroom, making sure that it follows the Utah Educational Teaching, no, UETS, I can't remember what that acronym is for, which is bad. I should know that. And then at the end, you're going to sign it and they're going to sign it, and it gives you a distribution. So make copies of this evaluation, keep one for your records, give one to the student teacher candidate, and submit one to the mentor course. And then the summative evaluation is very similar, but it has one change. It has an additional section, if I can get it to open. It's being really slow. At the very end, it has another section where you will write essentially a letter of recommendation for your student teacher. And I think that's helpful for them so that they can have it's very similar to what you would do if you had a student teacher. So if you've experienced that before, it's very similar. But you're going to write this very brief letter of recommendation saying whether or not you recommend them for the position, and then they can use that when they apply for different jobs. Okay, we'll go back to our presentation. If you ever have any questions, feel free to stick them in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll catch up to those. So you're going to make sure you sign up through USBE, through the Midas system for the mentoring class. Make sure you're getting the right one. Mentors sign up for one course, and the teacher candidates sign up for another. So the numbers are different, so we get you put in the right section. The course doesn't follow semesters, which is kind of cool. So you can start it and end it whenever you're ready, but you do have only two years from beginning to end to finish the entire endorsement, not just that course. And then please pay attention to your teacher candidate's log and make sure that it's detailed. Okay, cool. And that's the very end of my presentation. The job of a mentor is so inclusive. You're teaching, you're encouraging, you're guiding, you're instructing, you're an influence on their life. Praise them, nurture them, help them to grow and become better teachers, help them become who you want them to become in the car, because I know you have a passion for what you do. Absolutely know you have a passion for what you do, and inspire those people to be better student teachers. Tammy Prout, the mentoring class is free. There's no cost to being a mentor. There's no cost for student teachers to take the mentoring course. There is a cost for the endorsement. The endorsement requires taking 2 classes through the University of Utah. They're the only university who offers any kind of driver education courses. Their Health EDU, HEDU 350, well, 3510 and 3500. Altogether, those cost right now about $1,600. I think. I suspect the price of that's going to go up a little bit. A lot of people think that that is excessive. I get complaints all the time that my class is excessively expensive. Well, there's a couple of things you can do about that. If your school needs you to be a licensed driver education instructor and you don't have the endorsement yet, they can pay for you to get the endorsement. A lot of times they'll have you do a contract so that, you know, you guarantee you'll come back and work for them for a little while after you get your endorsement, but they can pay for it and it can be reimbursable through Utah State Board of Education. And then the other way you can deal with that is when by the time you're done with the endorsement, all the way finished with the endorsement, you'll be ready for a lane change in almost every district in the state. It's enough credit hours on a transcript for you to be able to get a lane change. The lane change pay should cover that additional cost. Also, driver education is a place where you get extra money. My school, we don't teach driver education during the school day anymore. So both teaching the classroom and teaching in the car earns me extra money. I earned back everything I had used to buy my endorsement, like to buy the credit, to pay for the credit for my endorsement within a couple of months of driving, probably 6 months. The reason why it took so long is because I was one of those dumb people who actually paid for full-on University of Utah credit instead of just USBE Midas transcript credit. But I didn't know if I was going to stay in the state of Utah, and if I wanted my driver license, driver education endorsement to be good in any other state, that had to show up on a University of Utah transcript, not just a Utah State Midas transcript. But if I had not paid that $3,500, ouch, yes, that was expensive to do that, I would have made that money back in probably 2 months of working in driver education. So while it can be pricey, remember, we do make extra money from this job, and it's a good way to have a good, solid education behind us by going through the University of Utah, because the courses have to be rigorous. They have to meet the University of Utah's standards. All right, I'm going to check the Q&A and the chat. I suspect I'm missing some things in chat. Cost of the endorsement total is $1,600, yeah. Now, it is possible for you to fail these classes, which is unfortunate. If you're mentoring somebody along this kind of a conference, they should 100% put on their practicum log. They should do it hour by hour, log it hour by hour. For an hour, I was at this driver ed conference and this was the topic that was discussed. For an hour, I was at the driver ed conference and this is what was discussed. The other thing that they should include on their practicum log is anything they do to improve their ability to teach the course. So if they go to another conference on teaching online and they're going to have an online course at your school, 100% do that. Yes, she says Zoom training all the time. Nearpod training. Yes, anything where you can improve your technology skills. Those things should be listed on their practicum as well. As a mentor, you can tell them, list those trainings that your district offers. You do have to be certified first aid and CPR. That's a separate course, so that wouldn't necessarily go on their practicum log, or should they put it on their practicum log, Audra? Should CPR and first aid go on the practicum, or because it's a course?
It is not, because it's an actual course that you have to take, and it doesn't count for PD either, unless it's outside of a certain time. If you're in doubt, check with me about a course that you're taking.
Yeah. Now, as you are, because currently licensed people have to be recertified every year, does that count toward, that doesn't count toward professional development? Is that what you just said?
It won't the first time. But once you've done it and you're repeating it, then it will, because you have to have that endorsement the very first time.
Perfect. So the first time it doesn't count on any log or anything. The second time they have to do it, once you're licensed. So for you guys, re-upping your CPR and first aid should count on for your professional development for driver education. You have to get 8 hours of driver education PD every year. So this conference, CPR, first aid, anytime you're on a panel with Audra doing study or research for her or for the driver education department at USBE, conferences trainings where she comes to your school, district conferences, those kinds of things should be what you get credit for on your professional development. Audra says attending board meetings, she means UDITSIA board meetings, so not like your school district board meeting.
If you guys have driver's ed in-service days, like for example, I just had a school the other day that had 4 hours that they did training on their own. You need to get it pre-approved. I need to see an agenda and who attended and what the hours and dates were, and it counts as your PD. I can also attend them also with you if you would like help. I can just sit there in case somebody has a question.
And once you're licensed, you can also use DEMS training on your professional development, but you're not yet licensed teacher candidates. DEMS training and the examiner's course is not part of their practicum log. That's a separate credit hour they earn as part of getting their license. Okay, shepherding people through getting this license can be a little challenging, but Audra has created some great documents online. There's a list of everything you need to take and where it's located and links to how you can get to sign up at those different places. You can also contact her. Driver education content specialists have been some of the best ones to get on the phone. All the way back from Linda Main, I've had to get multiple endorsements over my career. And I tell you, the hardest people to get on the phone are the people from USBE. Nothing bad intended there. But driver education people always answer the phone and they'll help you get what you need and help you get that endorsement. As the mentor, they'll help you know what to do and help you get through that process too. Looks like we got a question in Q&A. Can you explain the examiner training? Oh, for sure. The examiner training is a brand new training that will be available in a couple of weeks here from Audra Uri. She's going to send the link out. We had an old training from driver license division and then they lost their LMS for some reason. It got kind of messed up for about the last 18 months or so. And back when I did it, it was a workbook. I got a workbook and a DVD and I had to put the DVD in and watch it and take a paper quiz and put the paper in the mail and send it back to Utah State Board of Education. Now it's going to be hosted by OnQ Safety. It's going to have various modules with videos. We'll all have to take it as soon as it's released. And then by policy, we have to renew it every 5 years. It's a Utah State Board of Education rule. Some of you may have may have district directives that say that has to be done every year, which is again, part of your professional development. So that's an option. And it has DEMS training embedded in it. It is not in the mentor course, Christian. So you'll get a link from Audra to take that course when it's finished. It's a separate 1 credit that you earn towards your endorsement. We'll probably put a link in it in the mentor course to help you know how to get to it for the future if you'd like. Okay. When you get endorsed, when you get to that point in the endorsement, I'll send you the link. Perfect. Yeah, we want to do that at the very, very end of your training. If you're ever not able to get into DEMS, it might be because your examiner's course is expired or that you haven't completed it yet if you're still working on your endorsement. So you can talk to Audra and she'll be happy to email you. She emails like so many times a day.
And if you can't get into DIMS on July 2nd, it's because you didn't do your professional development.
Yeah. Okay, Wendy asks, how many schools or districts are trying to remove driver ed training from the school? Now, Audra will correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading in code, it's one of the 53G codes, that public schools have to offer it in the state. However, they don't have to offer it during the school day. So for a long time, it was taught after school at my school, or it was taught before school, or it was a interesting version of home study, or now online or a hybrid version. As far as I'm aware, there's nobody who's trying to actively get rid of it, but there are a lot who are moving to online for the classroom portion, which is not ideal. But if they can't find an endorsed teacher who lives close by who wants to do it, that might be what they have to do in a rural area. Wendy says she knows of a school that needs teachers. So if anybody's at this conference looking for a job, contact Wendy Bills at Provo High School. And advertising for teachers really is key. I don't know why driver education does not get posted to schools' job boards, but it doesn't. It's like it's an internal hire and the process is kind of secretive or cloudy. It really shouldn't be. We should help people to be able to get it, to find the job that fits for them. If your school is downsizing because maybe there's not very many students, or maybe there's too many driver ed teachers, or maybe you're sitting there waiting for somebody to retire, reach out. Let people who are at other schools know that you're looking for a job and that you're willing to work, because with your license, you can work at other schools. There's a guy who works for Alpine School District who also does driver education up at Riverton High School, helps out there when he's needed. So there are places who need people, and there's a lot of us who would love to have those jobs. So just look for them, you'll find them. Okay, does anybody have any other questions for me? So weird. There's like, I don't know how many of you on right now. 94 people on right now, but it's silent. Except for my cat who's trying to get me to feed her because it's, almost food time. All right. Yeah, you guys are welcome. I'm happy to help anytime that I can. If you have any questions about mentoring, you are welcome. Yeah, definitely crickets. You are welcome to contact me, or you can contact the other driver education instructor who facilitates the mentor course. That's Shauna Kay. And here are both of our email addresses. Miss Shauna is going to be retiring this year, so her email address will change in the not so distant future, but you'll still be able to contact her or contact me through that email, or contact us with, if you're in the mentoring class, just directly through Canvas. Okay, well, let's see. Information crickets, no questions. Timpview High School needs teachers badly. Well, that's good to know. Wendy, do they need drivers or classroom or what? Yeah, Tina, you're welcome to. Once you get going through the mentor course, anytime, let me know. I'm happy to help you with it. Or even if you're not quite in the mentor class yet and you have questions. What kind of cat was it? I have 3. The one who's crying at me is sitting over there on the chair. I love how that's like the Zoom thing. I am a little bit of the cat lady. They were all rescued from the middle of nowhere the day after they were born. Their mother had died, and I just couldn't separate them when I adopted them. So Bingham needs driving instructors, it looks like. If anybody knows somebody near Timpview High or Bingham. Marie, I'm glad you like cats too. They're so cute.
If you guys let me know if you need instructors, I usually, obviously we let the new instructors know, and then we also pass it along on our district type meetings. So if I'm not aware, then I can't let people know.
Yeah,
Because there's instructors that reach out to me that want another place to work, so I can put the 2 of you together.
Exactly. That's great. Tammy says we have too many in St. George. Well, your population is projected to double in the next 9 years, so I suspect you're going to need them. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again for you to have a break right before our one last conference.
One more thing about mentors. Usually we try to make sure you have at least 3 years of experience. I don't know if Allison said that. And if you aren't sure who your mentor is supposed to be, your coordinator or your director of your program will assign you a mentor. And if they don't do that, then I will assign you a mentor.